Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to be here with you in Cannes. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Huge congratulations on this film. For people who haven't seen Colours of Time, what can they expect when they go in to see your movie?
They're going to see a different movie. I think this movie is original also compared to my other films because it takes place in two periods between 1900 and today. And I think the fact that with one story you go from one period to another, I think it's disturbing in a good way.
Like you say, it's just an incredibly original concept and also very ambitious to combine these two sort of elements in the film of contemporary life with the 19th century. What gave you the initial spark of the idea to explore this in this way?
I think at the beginning I wanted to do a period movie and I wanted to talk about that period in 1895. First of all, it's the year where it was invented, the cinema was invented, so it was funny to just point that year. And to find one story that could bring the two periods together. I really liked, for example, in Titanic, the fact that you talk about Titanic and the drama of Titanic, and you have this 100 years woman who was the same character as Kate Winslet, and you go today and at that time, and the fact that you have a link with someone who's very old, I thought it was very moving. So I wanted to use that kind of feeling going to one period to another.
And obviously you've collaborated with your co-writer Santiago before. What is it about that working relationship that you find so fruitful and so creative?
We went to high school together, so we've learned how to know each other when we were 13 years old. And he became a scriptwriter, and I think it's the sixth or seventh project we make together. And it's just so easy to work with him because he's a novelist also, and it's very different what he writes for novels and what he writes for films. And it's just very bright, and I think it's very challenging to work with him because I bring more comedy probably, and he brings more deepness or thoughts, and so the combination of the two is really interesting.
And questions of memory, time and identity are long been present in your films. How do you think Colours of Time kind of expands on those things?
It's really, you know, because the link between the two periods is a family story. It's a story where four cousins discover an abandoned house, and in that house you have remains of the ancient times, you know, photographies, letters, paintings. And they do an inquiry about their ancestors, and at the same time we see those ancestors, so a young girl, 20 years old, being in that house in Normandy in 1895, and she's going to Paris to discover who her parents are. And because you have this motion, this story bringing two periods together, then it's interesting to see what the questions that this young girl has about who am I going to fall in love with, who am I going to have children with, and it's going to create a family up to today. This puts the question of love at the center of the story, you know, and the love is related to time travel in a sense.
You've assembled just such a wonderful cast, and it's very much an ensemble cast, even though maybe, you know, we follow Adele most ostensibly in the 19th century period, but really there are so many characters that we're following at once. So the chemistry between all of them really needed to work, and I love that you also pair these kind of up-and-coming new stars with these far more established actors, and you know that you've worked with many times before as well. Particularly Suzanne, I think, you know, she plays it so wonderfully. So what was it like bringing all these people together?
Well, it's my 15th feature film, and I think in every movies I try to discover new actors and a new generation of actors. So I made many films with Romain Duris, his first movie, but also and in L'Auberge Espagnole, you know, it was the second movie for Audrey Tautou, for Cécile de France, for Kelly Riley. Every time I think I try to find people who were enthusiastic because they were very young. And I'm still doing that in this movie because Suzanne Lindon and Paul Kircher and Vasily Schneider, Abraham Wapler, they're the new generation, and they're great actors. And so I really wanted to to show that to the audience. Yeah.
Of course, you know, as we said at the beginning, it is really ambitious in its scope. In all these different locations, from Normandy to Paris, during different time periods, the costumes, everything. What were some of the challenges along the way? And on the other side, did you have a real highlight on the shoot?
It was very challenging since the script writing, the preparation, the casting, the shooting, the editing. The editing was crazy. The post-production with the sound, with the image, it was really incredibly complicated. Just to recreate going back and forth between the two periods, to be fluid with the editing. So everything was very complicated. And also it was very paradoxical that in order to recreate the past, you need to find very new technologies. So with VFX, with all the tools that you have today to recreate the past. So I needed to be very creative, probably more than in previous movies, where for me, in the recent movies, because it was only in the contemporary times, dealing with spontaneity. In this movie, I needed to really not trust spontaneity. I needed to work more, to draw more, to prepare more. And so aesthetically, I think also this movie is more ambitious because of that.
All the cast that I've spoken to have been singing your praises. I think even mention of you being godlike. Not to bump up your ego too much. But what do you think it is about your approach that actors really love about working with you? You know, perhaps the atmosphere you create on set, you know, room to play, and also, you know, that you do have this thread of comedy and wit that runs through your work, even if it's not an out-and-out comedy you're making.
It's complicated to say. I think I'm asking a lot for them to trust themselves, and I'm not saying what they should do. I'm just watching what they're doing, and I'm trying to get them as close as possible as the character as I wrote. But I really want to go in between what I wrote and them, what they're able to bring to the character. So probably that's what I like, is that they're not pushed in a violent way into a character that don't belong to them. I think I really try to help them using their body, their way of talking, their creativity, to help them to go find a character somewhere inside of them. So it's really something where it's a question of trust. They trust me and I trust them, and I think that they like that, yeah.
And in terms of the takeaways from the film, what do you think it does have to say about the importance of going to our pasts in order to understand our present, to understand our identities, and also the importance of memory and remembering our history and also our personal history?
It's something that we all know, that people who went to see a psychoanalyst, when you explore your family identity, you explore your childhood, that helps for the present, you know. So it's something that's really helpful. It's something that artists know, because you can't really be creative, paint today, or be a director today without knowing the history of art and who was before you. So I think that seeing the past is really helpful. I think that politicians should learn that, because many politicians don't know the past, don't know enough the history, and that would help a lot. So yeah, I think that trusting the past is really important to be able to live the present better.
And I think also the fact that you've got this young cast, and particularly, you know, in the 19th century setting, you know, the lens through which we can understand the story, you know, it's almost this coming of age story. I think that can really appeal to the next generation. So was that also something very important to you?
Yeah, of course, because also, you know, I'm telling the story of a young woman, and just watching what a young woman life was in the 19th century, and compared to feminist topics today, you know, it's really interesting to see what it was then, because this girl didn't know how to write and read. How she's a feminist in a sense at her time. And I think just comparing the two periods in terms of what it was to be a young lady in 1900 and what it is to be a young girl today. I think just for that topic, it's interesting.
Sorry, just one sentence. For your 15th film, here in Cannes for the first time, what does that mean to you?
It's a great feeling because, because I've been waiting for a long time, and I was expecting that. So it's great to finally be here, and it's very joyful.
Really enjoy this moment. Thanks so much for sharing all that with me, and congrats on the movie. Thank you.